All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff and Matt. As the Eagles, they slayed the dragon. They finally got it done, going down to Tampa in 100-plus degree weather on the field, and had to make it interesting, of course. But nevertheless, come away with a victory, 31-25, over the Buccaneers in the game again, just like last week. A tale of two halves. And we're definitely going to dig into that because I have a lot more thoughts now on just how this team looks so far 4 games in the season. But Matt, starting us off here, what are your opening thoughts about the game? By the way, Matt correctly went against the grain, went against his preseason thought, and picked the Eagles to win. So, Matt, I said I had to wait to see it. Now I've seen it. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, let me start with saying I am also willing to work weekends if it's just to hold a shade over the Eagles bench in sunlight. So I don't know how much those guys are getting paid to do that, but I'm happy. You don't even have to pay me. Just let me into the game. I'll hold the shade, watch the game. Everything's fine. Piece of cake. I got it. Right. I'm mudding my basement right now. It's the same freaking process. Hands in the air. Only I don't have to do no mudding. So piece of cake. So
just stay close to the Gatorade.
My first thought was there. Second thought was, yeah, the Eagles are just as inconsistent as they were last year through 4 weeks. They just weren't as blunderous at the same time, right? So they haven't played a game yet that everything clicked, I would say, and for both halves. And that was the thing. That was the thing we were looking at last year. Was like they didn't do it until they came out of the bye week after several disappointing weeks in a row. Only they were full of turnovers, full of horrible play that made you think like, what are we even doing? So that's not that. But the feeling is not what are we even doing, but it's like, they still got some things to work on and it's obvious. And so we'll see how long they can carry through. But when Andy Reid was here, when Nick Sirianni was here, good teams win those games that are close and contentious. And the Eagles are 4-0. So that's where we are. Any of this bickering, I mean, A.J. Brown, we'll talk about him, but I'm like, sorry, dude, but you got to stay chill. That's all. Got to stay chill. Like, your days are going to come. They came last week and a half where you established dominance. So that'll come again. Although they almost were force-feeding him the ball in the second half, and that was almost the worst, most dangerous plays that occurred. So it's like, look,
got picked off twice.
Yeah, Hurts is trying to be your best friend out there, and we don't need a best friend. We need a field general that's just going to put the ball. I mean, Goddard probably should have had 100 yards receiving in that game because all the coverage was on Brown.
Yeah, you're going to be able to talk more about the game than I can because, unfortunately, living up here in the Northeast, even though there was a national game of the week at 1 o'clock where they had the A team, Brady and Burkhalter, who does the game with him? Can't remember who's the sidekick there, but
yeah,
is it Burkhalter? Rick Burkhalter?
I believe that's his name. Yep,
something like that. Anyway, yeah, but I got to deal with because the Giants played at the same time, so the Giants game was the game that was shown up here. So I was happened to be at a show where this guy had like the Sunday ticket thing, so I was able to kind of occasionally, without any volume, glance up and watch some of the games. So Matt, you've certainly watched it in far more greater detail than I did. So, but I can comment on what I saw. But I can't give it when we get down into the grades of players. I may not have as in depth a grade as I typically do when I'm able to watch the full games. But what I did see though is still, and you don't need the volume and you don't need to essentially see the whole game necessarily to see just the polar opposites. Again, this time the script was flipped in a way because the Eagles start off hot this game and moving the ball and Hurts looked great, and obviously it opened up with the special teams punt block that went right to Sidney Brown as if it was planned that way. Runs back for a touchdown. So can't ask for a better start than that. And then after halftime, the Eagles literally couldn't do a damn thing on offense the entire second half of the game. In fact, Hurts didn't have a single completion and had 0 passing yards the entire second half.
And he looked so in command in the first half. Like I had sent you a text, like it looks like Hurts and the offense has finally figured out this Tampa Bay defense because they were unstoppable, like literally unstoppable. Whatever they wanted to do, they could do. Lots of cool game design going on in there with these little shovel passes, which we called two things last week in the pregame. We said, look out for special teams having a big impact on this. And we both missed the opening the opening punt where that happened. We had to go watch a replay later.
Yeah,
in the day,
I didn't see the highlight.
Yeah. So right off the bat, we get the touchdown special teams, but then two shovel passes, not just one, but we had both mentioned some trickery around the line, and there were three plays, two shovel passes to Goddard, one of them a side pitch, the other one kind of more of a typical forward shovel pass, and then the fake tush push handoff to Barkley around the outside. So the creativity was happening.
Will Barkley ever get?
No.
Yeah. I mean, will Barkley ever have an easier rushing touchdown than that one that he scored?
No. Easiest touchdown.
Talk about a guy who could just walk in the end zone.
Yeah. He knew he scored as soon as he got the ball. He's like, I could literally probably moonwalk into the end zone and nobody's going to touch me. So that was the first half. And then in the second half, you're like, man, that's what we're used to seeing. That was right back to like, man, we can't do anything against a Bucs team. No. So luckily we got up to 24 points early. And luckily the defense, even though they gave up the two big plays, so minus those two plays where they just blew the coverage, if you take those two plays away, the Eagles would have still had their foot on the throats of the Bucs all game long. So two fluky plays. Vic Fangio was very displeased with that in the box.
Yeah,
and yet still the defense stays in it long enough to make 4 consecutive stops on the Buccaneers at a time of the game where it really mattered. So, the defense was off for their 2 plays, slap them around, but then, came back strong. Never gave up. They're the ones that kind of responded with we got to play 60 full minutes here. So get it back. Shake them off, shake off the mistakes. So that was interesting to see. Thank God it ended the way it did because we're another win and we're going into week 5 with a 4-0 record, and we're the only undefeated team. At the same time, by the way, so the other thought that I would have had at the beginning of the show, injuries. Malik Neighbors out for the season. Tyreek Hill tonight out for the season. Carted off. Leg in an air cap.
Yeah. Already?
Yep. Already. They were in the second half.
I guess they had earlier start than normal. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the 7:30 start, but he's out.
That's a bad injury. Like, you think he's like a season type thing?
They immediately stopped play, didn't move him, put his leg in an air cast, and he was carted off. So I didn't see the injury, but I was like, well, there goes Tyreek Hill too. And you look at these other big injuries to big players, and I'm like, you know what? Every week during preseason football, if you can just get through largely unscathed, and the Eagles took their hits with Nolan Smith, and Lane Johnson's quite, kind of not feeling his best either. But if they can keep it to like a 4-week type IR type thing, they're doing much better than the 49ers, than the Dolphins, than the Giants. So, let's keep avoiding the injury bug. Let's get into October football as the body's starting to strengthen up, and then we'll be well chiseled. So I feel like we're lucky in that area.
Yeah. I mean, you got the Commanders too that haven't had their quarterback for the last couple of weeks. So, a lot of big injuries around the league. And you talked about those 2 plays. I just but it's interesting how it was Egbuka who smoked Makuba. What are we playing in? Well, we are playing in Europe. The NFL is, so it's just interesting. Akuba smokes Makuba. And then, of course, you had the Bucky Irvin play down the sideline against the rookie Campbell. But I tell you what, I watched that play a couple times, and that was, I don't blame the rookie for that. I really don't. He's covering that guy, and he's not supposed to be out there covering him forever. The Eagles were supposed to get home on that play.
Yep. Baker made it happen.
Yeah, that was a long duration between, the snap. Who the heck's the quarterback? I'm trying to think of the quarterback of Tampa.
Baker.
Slipped my mind. Baker. Yeah, Baker. Baker did a good job of eluding the pass rush and buying himself time. And then he just makes a nice little flip, or it was not even a flip, but just a nice little almost sidearm pass on the sideline where finally Irving was, able to get behind and get a step on Campbell. So I don't really blame. I know it was a long play, but I just blame the Eagles' lack of a pass rush. Baker just making a really good play down the field. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that play, but I just thought that was just too much time to have a linebacker trying to cover a running back,
Yeah, and I think Vic Fangio is ticked off because clearly he was like, keep the players in front of you. Like, no big plays. Don't let them break it open. Keep the plays in front of you. I think that's why he's okay with the Dory Jackson starting. Like, he keeps everything in front of him. He doesn't really get smoked over the top. He just gets smoked on all the small plays. So the explosiveness of being able to score or at least get set up to score on both those plays was huge. And I agree with you, though. Baker made a play there and just beat our linebacker on the play. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to be too hard on him. First of all, he's a rookie. Secondly, he was covering him for a long time. Baker just bought a lot of time. And eventually, you're not supposed to be able to cover a skilled player that long, in coverage. So I kind of blame more of just the lack of pass rush and the ability to get to Baker than really Campbell on that play. Either way, 2 long, huge plays. We're not used to seeing Eagles get beat deep twice. I mean, twice in the same game with over 70-yard plays. So, but kudos to Tampa Bay and Baker for making plays. And that Egbuka was one hell of a young wide receiver, I tell you that much. Really good player.
Yep.
So let me think. What else? So you touched on the injuries. Lane Johnson had to leave the game again now, 2 straight games in a row. This time, apparently, it was a shoulder situation. So between the neck and the shoulder, he's been nicked up twice now where he hasn't been able to finish the game. That's got to be concerning. Although, again,
Fred Johnson, man.
Johnson came in and, is at least more than – yeah. He's not going to dominate the line of scrimmage, but he definitely will at least he's done a good job in sort of stabilizing, the loss of having Johnson on the sideline. And our defensive end, help me out with his pronunciation. Okonkwo?
Okonkwo.
I'm butchering the heck out of it. But he also left the game with what appears to be another tricep injury. It's amazing how many tricep injuries. It must be, obviously when you're just trying to fend, blockers off and stuff, I guess your triceps are always vulnerable to this. Because, Brandon Graham, how many times did he tear his triceps in his career? A couple, at least twice I can think of. So it just seems to be a very common injury with linemen, whether it's D-line and even O-line, tend to tear their triceps quite often. So anyway, that could be a substantial injury. I think we're waiting to see exactly how long he may be and how severe that injury is. But the bottom line is this: the Eagles getting awfully thin at defensive end. Just very thin, like concerningly thin.
They are, and I can't even name a defensive lineman that's like available on the free agent market waiting to be picked up. So they're gonna have to go in-house to find out, or maybe sign somebody off somebody else's practice squad. I don't know how that works, but they're gonna need to add somebody. They did bring in Patrick Johnson last week, so Patrick Johnson played plenty of snaps, and he looked like he was getting some pressure. So, but beyond him, I can't name another player on the Eagles line. Except for the defensive tackle from Nebraska. Like, throw him on the end. Let's see what he can do.
Well, he should be back soon. That's interesting you brought him up because I almost forgot about him. I think they put him on IR, right? So he had to miss at least 4 weeks. So I think he's either back next week or the week after. He should be coming back.
Yeah.
But we'll have to check on that. We'll look into that before our preview show on Saturday. Maybe we'll get an update on him. But here's how it works with practice squad. And I do think it's getting to the point where Howie might start doing that because the risk is, or not really the risk, but when you pick somebody off another team's practice squad, he has to be on the 53-man roster. That's the issue. It's not like you have to release somebody that's on the roster right now or send someone down or whatever. If you pick up, that's the rule. That's the rule. So if there's somebody that Howie thinks is worth doing that, then he definitely could maybe pull the trigger on it, but we'll see.
Hey, just not to spend a lot of time, but 3 minutes. Let's say AJ keeps being
again
a little whiny. Would you trade AJ to a team to get a top-end defensive pass rusher?
It's interesting that you're using the T word with AJ, because I wasn't really going to use the T word with AJ for this year, but I'm starting to think that this could be AJ's last year here.
And if you knew that,
those thoughts creep into my head because.
All right, think about this one.
Yeah.
Think about AJ Brown to the San Diego or to the LA Chargers for Khalil Mack.
I don't know. Yeah. No, well, he's injured too, isn't he? Did he play yesterday? Because I know the week before he got injured and left the game with like an arm. It looked like he hurt his arm really bad. So I don't know. Did he even play yesterday?
Not sure. So worth checking on. But just I was like, I was entertaining that thought. I was entertaining that thought if AJ becomes like just a media storm as we get going, and we're still undefeated. Like what would the value be, especially if our D lines gets thinner? And you had the opportunity to trade AJ Brown to a team that expects to win with a good quarterback, the place he'd like to play. And I was like, LA Chargers might be a good fit for a guy like Khalil Mack, but I'm not sure if Mack's injury status. But that's just one thought. 3 minutes is probably up. We'll move on.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, just because you brought him up and because I happened to be watching the Chargers game the week before when he left the game and it looked like he had a pretty significant arm injury.
Maybe he's got a torn tricep.
I'm on the Colts website right now. Well, I don't know.
To laugh at Mac.
I just remember them saying. I just remember them saying it didn't look good and all this kind of thing. Anyway, whatever. I'll check on that. I don't have time to really. But here's the thing. Would they be willing to trade him this year? I don't know about this year. If it gets bad enough, if this griping keeps going on, I mean, when's the trade deadline? It's usually about week 6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah.
If he continues to now, listen. I mean, I give him reason to be frustrated, but you got to keep that stuff in house.
Yeah.
Don't be tweeting.
It's immediately
because then the media jumps on everything and turns it into a freaking firestorm. And what's funny is whatever the tweet was something like, whenever you're unheard, don't make a scene, just shrug your shoulders and don't make a big deal out of it. And then you tweet it to everybody. I mean, you're making a big deal out of it. Polar opposite of what he's trying to say. Quote.
Yeah. So I'm like, and that's the part of me that's like, come on, like, really, you're going to try to be the silent hero here? Like, you're absolutely doing the opposite of what your wisdom is saying you should be doing if you're in that situation. That's why I'm like, I don't have time. The older I get, I'm like, it's so childish that I'm like, your team's winning, you get paid millions of dollars to be there. And whether or not the ball's coming your way, you impact every game because your name is AJ Brown and people know what you can do, which is why Todd Bowles had a plan to shut your ass out of the game. So just man up, play some football. We won the game. When we play lesser teams that we have better chances of beating, you're going to have dominate. So just chill and grow up and show a little emotional maturity here and move on. That's my take on AJ Brown, my hot take. I would trade him. If that keeps going, I would trade him in a second to go get a D-line pass rusher with the shape we're in because our team is good enough to win the Super Bowl again. And if you had Dotson and Smith as our 1 and 2s, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, here's the thing. As much as I agree with like 99%, maybe 98% what you just said, he is probably the reason why the Eagles came back and won the game that we were at, however.
100%.
So you don't want to discount him too much.
I'm not discounting him, but I'm like, I ain't got time after T.O. and watching cancers grow and destroy a good quarterback and a good team's career. I'm like, no, I got no patience for it. I'm like,
I hear you. I just say this. Unlike T.O., who absolutely had zero reason to bitch and complain because it's not like, he wasn't thrown to all the time and a big part of the Eagles offense. AJ Brown is just in 2 or 3 games this year, 3 out of the 4 games has been like not thrown too much. And then outside of being forced fed in the last game in the fourth quarter, especially, I think he had like 8 or 9 targets for the game. And I want to say probably 6 of the 9 were in the last 10 minutes. So, and that's when Hurts was probably trying to force feed his buddy because he knew he was, bickering or whatever, probably in the huddle or on the sideline. And they almost cost the Eagles some turnovers. He almost got picked off twice. So for him to go to the media and then not speak to the media, number one, he tweets out and then doesn't talk to the media either. So it's like, it's starting to become a problem. And I had in here where I wrote down, cause for concerns, and that was I had injuries as one. The second thing is AJ, and not just his lack of production, which we don't know if that is the game plan, the coaching, the scheme, or AJ himself. Is AJ lost a step and not able to get open as often anymore? I didn't watch the game enough to really know that. Maybe you can answer that, Matt. I mean, was he getting open and not being thrown to, or is it something where he was just? You said that they covered him.
I think Tampa had him covered. Tampa had him covered all game long.
Yeah,
and if you're a number one receiver, like if we were losing that game and had to pass to catch up, sure, we'd probably be going your way the whole game, and you'd probably be breaking some plays after we hit Smith for some plays, and it's like that's just not how the game unfolded, So I wouldn't mind it, like if the coordinator wanted to design some like Deebo Samuel type plays for AJ to kind of get some snaps near the line of scrimmage where he's just running or doing an end around, give him the ball that way. If he's getting double covered, and honestly, be creative that way to keep him happy. But
honestly, I don't know why they don't have, at least in their first 10 plays, like they always script the first whatever amount of plays, that they don't have at least one, not asking for too much, quick slant or something, quick comeback or whatever, just to get AJ in the game. Or take a shot down the field to AJ. You can't tell me, I don't know why the Eagles don't do that. Number one, you'll throw to him early in the game. Two, he's dangerous once he catches the ball. I don't know why they do it. Don't do it for that reason. Just to do it. Right. So, I mean, there's part of me that can certainly understand because, listen, how frustrated are we? Like in the first half last week when we were there at the game, I mean, we were booing the hell out of the Eagles at the end of the half.
Yep.
To the second half of yesterday's game. I mean, the Eagles, it's like, so if we're frustrated as fans, then you can see why AJ's frustrated. But at the same time, AJ, keep the stuff in-house. Don't be tweeting, and then what your tweet actually states, you are acting the exact opposite of the message you're trying to send.
100%.
So that's two things I have problems with him. Just, have a side conversation, be pissed, vent in the locker room, have a side conversation with Sirianni or the offensive coordinator, and just say, hey, look, man, what's going on here? I need to, whatever the conversation is. Don't vent it in the public.
No, because
now you got ESPN. How many stories were out there in the media today now?
It's all over.
ESPN's running stories. AJ Brown, blah, 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 blah. And this is how the news cycle is created.
And what type of leverage are you looking for? You're looking to like to whine about the coaches or just complain that the coaches don't know what they're doing? They're the only 4-0 team in the NFL. So the coaches know a little bit something about what they're doing, even if you're not entirely happy with it, even if the fans aren't entirely happy with it. But I'm like, it's preseason football, dude. There's no way his coaches are listening to him, and then the response is, well, we're just not going to use you. It's the response is, AJ, your time will come. Your time will come. And when it does, you're going to dominate.
Yeah.
But right now we're figuring things out. That's probably what the coaches are saying. So to go back out to the media and just throw all of that trusted relationship under the bus, that's a problem. It's a bigger problem. They asked Sirianni about it today, and he got caught off guard by it. He's like, he had to figure out his way to an answer, and he shouldn't have to answer that. Just in a league of adult men, you should not have to answer that. Should not have to answer that question as a coach.
Here's one of the keys. Here's one of the keys. You're absolutely right. And here's one of the keys that I drew out of that is that Sirianni sometimes likes to just brush that under the rug and kind of say not much or really anything at all about it. And he kind of did that a little bit, but he acknowledged it though. Like even when he was answering, he acknowledged that there is a problem. He acknowledged there's a problem without actually saying, yeah, we got a problem here. So that's what I got out of it. And so to me, that just said that kind of signals that there's a sentiment now within the Eagles organization that they're not too thrilled about this AJ stuff. Like they're starting to get sick of it. I kind of got that sense.
I'll tell you what, though, today. Teams that win championships buy into the team's success. And what was juxtaposition to AJ's little tweet was Jalen Carter talking about how he had a shitty game, but the team had a W, and he would take that over a six-sack game, and all this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to win championships, you need that attitude. and you don't
Yep.
need AJ's attitude. So I don't
Yeah.
care. Like I call me old school or what, but I don't care how good you are. If you're not into that team, then you don't win with a bunch of individuals. Look at the Bengals. They can't win crap, and they have the best talent in the freaking on offense for the last 3 years, and they can't win anything.
Yeah.
And they don't even really go overboard with that like drama stuff. But I'm like, no team ever wins with a prima donna on the team. Never.
Nope.
They will never win with a prima donna team saying things like that. So that's why I'm like,
Did you ever win a?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said Super Bowl or bust at the beginning of the season.
How great of a wide receiver? T.O. is one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. Never won anything.
Nope. Not with the Eagles.
Now he's the extreme. I'm not saying A.J. Brown is T.O. T.O. is the extreme of the me, only, selfish. As great as he was, I'm not putting A.J. Brown in that category.
Did he not win a Super Bowl with San Francisco, though?
Nope.
He never won? He beat the Packers in the playoff game, and that was it, huh? They didn't win the Super Bowl that year?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He never won a Super Bowl championship.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Proves my point.
Yep. So, all right, let's get to, well, my last comment on the A.J. Brown thing. You were saying how he just needs to look at what Jalen Carter's response is. Absolutely. But he also just needs to look at the guy who is right across from him on the field on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and that's Smitty, who has all the talent in the world to be number one receiver. He's not even number one on this team, which he could be on any other team. And he still doesn't. He'd never hear him complain ever. He goes a game without getting any receptions or 1 or 2 receptions. Never says a peep, ever. So, people are going to start getting grown tired of it. And you mentioned the trade. I don't know if I see a trade with AJ, but I may not rule it out. And I also am starting to think that this might be his last season here.
Well, and that's the part that got me thinking about a trade, right? So I'm like, well, if that's his last one, and I don't know, I'm going to look, before we get to our next show, I'll just look around the league for just some defensive linemen that might fall into that possible trade category for someone that's looking for a dominant one receiver, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Be interesting to look for that.
Yeah. And because here's the thing that might factor into this. Well, I think it's definitely going to factor into it. We know how many young players the Eagles need to sign for the next 2-3 years, right? We know that Carter's coming up, and now Davis. Like, Davis was like, are they going to keep Davis? They didn't sign him too? Well, the way Davis playing this year, I think the Eagles got to sign him. So now you got Davis you got to lock in. You got Carter who you got to lock in. Those are 2 monster contracts because Davis is he's going to ask for a lot now. I mean, he's really come alive. And then you have Cooper, you have Mitchell. You got these other young guys you're going to have to resign. The linebacker Campbell down the road a little
keep
further.
Them all.
So where are you going to disperse your money? Well, hey, let's see. Who could we potentially, free up some money with? All right, A.J. Brown, we're paying him $33 million a season to whine. Okay. Maybe that's the guy we let go to use that money and allocate it to paying some of our young talent. So that's why I'm there. I'm thinking this could be AJ's last year. I mean, I don't know, but it's not good what he's doing. And as much as I can understand why he's frustrated, like you said, the team's 4-0.
4-0.
By the way, there is one other undefeated team. The Bills are undefeated. So the Eagles are one of the last 2 teams, but NFC, they're undefeated.
Gotcha.
So you're 4-0. And like you said, we're now actually heading into the season. Preseason's over with. We got 4 weeks in. We're in week 5 now.
Yep.
And the working out. I think the Eagles do need to figure out, like I was saying, to get in the ball early in the game.
That would help
somehow. Way. It shouldn't kill them to put a slant to AJ within the first 10 plays.
And I want to say this was the talk all last season, right? This was the talk before we hit the bye week last season. It's the talk this season. We went stale with our passing game until we hit the playoffs, and then we just decided to crush everybody in the playoffs. So, I don't see why they can't use the slant pass early to set up the stop and goes late as well. Like
Yeah.
Run sets up pass and pass sets up run. Well, sometimes the pass sets up the pass if you're calling the right passes. So it'll be interesting to see. They've got a couple weak secondaries coming up, and they should be able to get AJ going, especially against the Giants. But we'll see.
Plus, AJ, it makes it a lot harder to squeeze in these post-game shows into a half an hour when we got to spend 10 minutes talking about you.
Right.
Okay. So that's another thing.
So now we got
All right?
10 minutes left just to finish in 40 minutes. So, all right, let's roll forward.
Here we go. One last thing before we get into player grades, because this is what I want to get your thoughts on. How can a team be so Jekyll and Hyde within one game? This is 2 weeks in a row now. The Eagles have been absolutely horrible and frustrating as hell to watch in one half, and then be unstoppable in the second half. And it happened the opposite way in his past game. Great in the first half, couldn't complete a pass in the second half. Had absolutely zero completions, and I think in 0 passing yards. Like Hurts had 0 passing yards in the second half of the game. How is that happening?
I don't know enough about coaching to be able to pinpoint why that would happen. There's a lot more technology involved with game plans and things like that these days. People are seeing video instantaneously of what worked and what didn't work, and teams are able to make adjustments. And maybe we were just late to the adjustment on offense after we realized Todd Bowles has our number again. I don't know. I don't have a good explanation for that because I don't know enough about the game and where it's at. But, if you put together 2 halves of football to say we played a full entire game, it would be the last half of the Rams and the first half against the Bucs. And all of a sudden we got like 60 points and like a dominant defense. And we're like, oh, there's the Super Bowl team. But, cold going into Rams, cold coming out of Bucs. You put those 2 halves together and we can't win a football game. So I don't know. The streaks of bad luck are happening after we've, in the middle, like we adjusted against the Rams. We didn't adjust against the Bucs. Maybe that's because things were working, so we kept it there. I don't know. I got to take a person smarter than me. I'm just the guy that holds the shade over the team on the sidelines and then occasionally does podcasts.
I mean, I can't figure it out either, which is why I wanted to pitch it to you, because I can't remember a team, and we've seen some bad Eagle teams, and even some of the worst Eagle teams have not gone a whole half without completing a pass. I mean, the worst, the cold-tight years. They would complete a pass. Robbie Brister would find somebody.
The Brad Noble years. The Bobby Brister.
It's horrible.
Ty Detmer years. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't. It's
Doug
just
Peterson
like,
playing quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's where we always hate the bubble screen, right? Like, we're not a fan of the bubble screen, but this is where, like, all right, throw AJ the bubble screen, please. Like, just let him.
Yeah, don't throw it to Todd Pinkston or the skinniest receiver on the team. Yeah, throw it to a guy like AJ who could break a tackle. Yeah, they used to throw those bubble screens to the smallest, skinniest receiver on the team.
Yeah,
how are you doing? Yeah, but it was nice you mentioned about shaking things up with the little shovel pass play to Goddard that worked not once but twice in the game. That was kind of cool to see. But yeah, it's just
Did you know that was Goddard's first multiple touchdown game?
Ever? Was it really? I did not know that. He's never scored touchdowns in a game.
That's the first game he scored 2 touchdowns in.
Wow. And he doesn't both.
I think that was one of Rube's. That may have been one of Rube's observations. But I was like,
interesting.
That's a weird one.
Well, I can't say that I remember. I'm just kind of surprised to hear it. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's not too surprising because he seems to be missed 4 or 5 games a year. So, but it is kind of, not even in the playoffs, he hasn't scored 2 touchdowns. Interesting. All right. So let's get into the grades. I'm not going to be spending a ton of time on the grades for me because, again, I didn't watch the game as detailed and as closely as I normally do. So the ones that kind of came off the screen for me when I was able to glance up at the game, I'll name now, and then you could tell me yours. I'm just going to give you the guys that I give A's to. Even though he got burnt deep, and I talked about it, I don't blame him necessarily for it, but I think Campbell deserved an A. I saw him making tackles. I saw him almost punch out a fumble, or maybe did punch out the fumble. I think it was him and somebody else on that Irving play.
Yeah.
He also got his hand in there.
He got the game-saving interception.
He had a big interception.
Yeah.
He had the big interception in the corner of the end zone. And the guy's all over the field. So I give him an A. I give Cooper DeJean an A. I thought, again, much like Campbell, he was all over the field making tackles.
The one guy.
What's that?
Yeah. Even more important than Zach Bond is, because they have more depth at linebacker, the one guy that this team cannot do without for a game is Cooper DeJean. If they ever have to play a game without Cooper DeJean, they're going to be in trouble, because he's the most sure and sound in every part of the game. He's never out of position. He's fast enough to play with any receiver. He's big enough to play with any tight end, and he always tackles the ball carrier. So
he's a secure tackler.
Yeah, he's probably the most significant guy that they could be without. And that's why I'm glad he's not returning punts or kicks. So yeah, I agree with those two.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go off.
Yeah, I thought Cooper, from what I saw, I give an A. I think this is a team that I saw for the first time test Mitchell a lot early in this game. They were throwing his way, and he came up. From what I saw, again, I thought he defended almost everything they threw over there. So I thought Mitchell played an A game. Plus, he started smack talking with the offensive lineman and Baker, which was interesting. I know he got did he get a penalty on that? I can't remember if he got a penalty, but I like Mitchell, how he just doesn't back down either. Like, he won't take any shit from anybody. In fact, maybe he started it with Baker. I don't know, but I saw them come together a little bit. And Goddard got my other A. So those are my A's: Campbell, Cooper, Mitchell, and Goddard.
Goddard would have been my other A. The other guys, I'm not sure I would have rated them so high. Maybe a B plus.
Okay,
but
like I said, you saw the whole game. I was only see bits and pieces.
Yeah, the defensive
I'm gonna put
line.
that disclaimer out there for my grades.
Yeah, certainly nobody on the D line deserved an A game, because they just really couldn't quite get to Baker. They were close a couple times. I did think Patrick Johnson played.
There was that one sack where they absolutely, right up the middle.
Yeah,
it must have been Carter and whoever was next to Carter. There was that one where it just completely like a wave. That was like the only huge sack that I saw in that game. You know which one I'm talking about?
Ajomo, I think, was in on that one.
Oh yeah, it was Ajomo. Yeah, yes, that's who it was. Yeah, that was
so not bad. I would have liked to see more ability to get Baker down. He kind of did his Baker thing and got free and made some plays, but otherwise, Makuba, it's like, hey, learning point. Like, stay in your position. Like, you cannot let that guy get behind you. That's the cardinal sin in Vic Fangio's defense. Keep it in front of you. And it was that ball was close. And was there a little bit of luck that ball got over Cooper's hands and through Makuba's? Maybe, but somebody should have been behind that guy. You never ever let the receiver be the farthest guy in the field from the quarterback. Can't have that happen. So I agree with those. I don't have anybody else to add other than Fred Johnson. I think every time he comes in, he plays a game, a football.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can put him up there. Yep. I don't have anyone in the. Again, I have a limited scope here for my grades. I only graded one other guy, and that was Hurts, and I gave him a C because he probably played an A in the first half.
He was an A plus in the first half.
Yeah, and then like a D minus in the second half. The reason I gave him an F is he didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
and I don't blame it all on Hurts either, but the quarterback gets more blame than anyone else. So I'm gonna just foul that and say A in the first half, D in the second half.
By the way, Braden Mann, by the way, another friggin' incredible punting game. He just boots the crap out of that ball. Another brilliant punting game from Braden Mann. So, and Jake Elliott
did a good job running backwards for yards too to run a game.
Yes, he did. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Great job, Braden. You get my A. You get my 1A plus for the day. That's all I got for grades, though. But we slayed the demon. Ultimately, you got the win. Got out of Tampa with a victory.
Yep, good job you calling it. You had them winning 24-20. I had them losing 20-16. So I'm glad to be wrong. Whenever I pick against the Eagles, I'm more than happy to be wrong. So, we talked about this yesterday. Is the biggest key to this win is the tiebreaker. So now they own the tiebreaker against the Bucs when they, hopefully both of these teams are probably going to be in the playoffs. And the Eagles now, that game will more than likely be in Philly, not have to go down to, Tampa. So that's huge there. Same thing with a victory over the Rams, who they're not going anywhere. They're going to be in the playoffs more than likely. I think they're the best team in that division. And they hold the tiebreaker, at least right now, over the Rams. So those last 2 wins were huge.
Mhm.
And now we focus on Denver, who comes into Philly. That's another team that you'd like to be at home versus on the road because, Mile High Stadium, the air's thinner down there, and some teams don't play well going to Denver because of just that component.
Yep.
Tend to need a little more oxygen in those games, things like that. So Eagles are the better team. Maybe they get the ball to AJ early, Now, here's the thing I don't want to see. We'll talk about in the pregame, but I don't want him force-feeding AJ because who's going to be on AJ in this game? It's probably the wrong time for AJ to be yapping because now he's going to be against one of the best corners in the league. So I don't think AJ is going to get the ball that much next week. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the pregame.
Yeah, we'll see. Denver's playing tonight. I'll watch the rest of that game. Who are they playing? Just turn it on.
Yeah, we're talking about Surtain, by the way. I'm talking about, the cornerback Surtain, who a lot of people think he's the best corner in the league. So, all right. Well, any final thoughts? We'll wrap it up here. We inside of, right at the 40-minute mark.
Look, it's another win.
Final thoughts.
It's another win playing imperfect football. So everybody just stay patient. AJ, chill out, please. Don't start a battle with your coaches because you're just going to get the coaches to dig in and say you're gone. Now, if that's what you're working out with your agent because you grow tired of Philly now, fine. But let's not. I would rather rip off that Band-Aid. Otherwise, be happy with the fact that we're 4-0 and probably going back to the playoffs for sure and probably another good run at the Super Bowl. And we need you on this train to get all the way there. So could you just stay patient, please?
Yeah. I'll just say this. Practice what you preach. You're going to go out there and tweet something like, if you're not being listened to and you're this and that and frustrated, then just shrug your shoulders and walk away or be quiet, all that. And then he goes out there and tweets it to the world. I mean,
there's no louder form of communication right now than tweeting or social media. So you're actually not.
It spreads, literally instantaneously. I think he had 4 million views within a few hours. 4 million views on his tweet. Yeah. To your point, this isn't like Little House on the Prairie days.
Right.
Send a messenger down to downtown and take a couple days to get to the post office. I mean, this is like, so gotta be smarter with that stuff. And
he's getting clickbait though. Maybe I should tweet out myself. I'll be like, I talked to the show host on our podcast, and none of my ideas get listened to.
Hey, it could help our pod bring more views.
Yeah, we'll get 4,000 likes, in a single tweet.
There it is. Oh, and then we could be overnight sensations thanks to AJ Brown.
Yeah,
idea. Let's do that. Let's tweet at AJ Brown. Hey, AJ, STFU.
Yeah.
or something effect. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, on that same note, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts on AJ Brown on this Eagles team at 4-0. And we'll be back on Saturday morning to give you the pregame episode as we talk about the Denver Broncos. All right. Until then, for Matt, this is Geoff. Fly, Eagles, fly, go Birds, and we'll catch you all on Saturday.
Peace, everybody.